Does your knee pain hold you back from fully enjoying your Tai Chi practice? Is it difficult to get into a proper bow stance when you need to turn 180 degrees? Hi, I'm Jenny Lu. In this video, I'll show you a few modifications to protect your knees while enhancing your flow when turning. These tips will help to reduce strain and improve alignment. Let's go. Since this question came from my beginner Tai Chi class, we're going to use A-form Tai Chi as an example for these 180 degrees turns in bow stance. So I'm going to first turn around to show you my back view. We're just going to go over bow stance turning really quickly. So we can start from Wuji stance. Just put your hands on the hip joints if you want to follow along too. So we're going to first pour the weight into the right leg. So this will be going from form number 1 to number 2, go into the brush knee, just without the upper body move. So from here, we're going to go into the bow stance on the left side. Make sure you pivot on the back ball of your foot. And then when we shift the weight back, you pivot on the left heel, pour the weight back, and bringing your right foot out, heel down, toes up. And as you pivot and you're turning your pelvis facing the right side. So we turn 180 degrees and we came here. Okay, so we know in class they always talk about how do we protect our knees, make sure your knees are aligned. So center the kneecaps, faces the second toes, and then we also want to make sure when we are in bow stance, you already know that you are not going to push your knee past your toes. So that's going to add unnecessary strain. So let's go over the first sticking point when we first start this turn, the brush knee turn, or it could be also later when you're practicing part of the wild horse's mane or in your grasp, the sparrow's tail. Okay, so let me give you my profile view to show you what I'm talking about. All right, so let's say we are in Wuji stance. So if this doesn't make you feel stable, you can also just kind of maybe bring your hands out next to you this way. That's okay too. So whatever that works for you, okay? So we're going to pour the weight into the right leg. So traditionally we just do this. We pour the weight into the right leg. So actually, when I'm showing you this, as I shift my weight, as I pour my weight, you can actually notice my knee is correctly aligned. Center of the kneecap is pointing to the second toes. But what happens that as I pull my left foot in, so you can see actually my left knee is passing a little bit over my toes. So for me, this is okay. I have enough quadricep, I have my leg strength to hold me, for me to step out slightly to the outside, and then I can drop my foot, I can turn this way. I do feel the side, right? I could feel the muscle really working to help me support my kneecap. But for some of our students that have knee problems, this might be a problem. So that might make you to not turn sufficiently. That means you might look like this. You might pour the weight, you're gonna draw your foot in, but because this knee, you feel the strain, you're not going to be able to step your foot out. You're just going to take your foot right here. And when you turn, you're going to look like you're in a tighter stance. And sometimes what I see is actually people might be turning this way. Their turn is really not complete, so that maybe their pelvis is facing to the side, or maybe they're stepping on a balancing beam. Okay, so I'll give you the first tip first. Okay, so make sure when you're here, when you're pouring the weight, you start to feel your knee straining, do not sink your stance that low. We're going to cover that again later. So make sure your stance can be higher. When you turn, that'll be a little bit easier for you to step out. Okay? So that's number one, stance higher if you have knee problems. And that'll apply for a lot of the turning stances for both stance, okay? And then let me go back one more. And then the next tip is probably one of my favorite. I think it's like a secret. I think a lot of teachers don't really cover that. So let me turn to face to give you the back view again. So traditionally, when we are doing the bow stance from here, is that we're going to sink and then pour the weight into the right leg, draw the left foot in. So you already know, some of you, you cannot take your left foot out, right? Because of the knee strain. Now that we elevated the stance, and it's still a little bit of a strain for you to take your foot further. So here's a solution, okay? So instead of pouring your weight right away into the right leg, so you can pull the left foot in, you're going to pour the weight into the left leg, like this. We're sinking, rooting, grounding, gently pouring the weight into the left leg so that you can start to pivot a little bit on the back ball of your foot. So your right foot, you're going to pivot on the back ball of your foot. So now this foot is a little bit in a pigeon-toe position. And now you're going to pour the weight into the right leg. Bring your left leg in. Now you'll actually give yourself a head start. Because your right foot is already at an angle, you can have enough room to take your left leg out to the side and then going into your bow stance. Because we actually do that for the next turn, you already know, right? So let's practice again to give ourselves a head start, okay? From facing forward to going 90 degrees, turning 90 degrees to the left side. So we're just gonna repeat that one more time, okay? So from here, your Wuji stance, this trick I feel like you can incorporate, right? Like a little secret move. So instead of going to the right leg first, pour the weight into the left. So then you can pivot on the right ball of your foot, shift the weight into the right leg, bring the left foot in. Now there's enough room. Heel down, toes up, slightly to the left side. Soften the front knee, pivot the back ball of your foot. Now as you turn, your pelvis is facing the left side 90 degrees. Your back foot pivoted, your body is in correct alignment, and your knee feels much better, right? Okay, so from here, we're gonna keep turning. So that was the second tip, now the third tip, okay? So when we turn, you know to pivot on the back ball of your foot. Again, if you need to adjust, stance is gonna be higher. So as you pour, you're gonna tip the front. Right now it's front, right? So your left heel, and make sure it's gonna pass, right? Remember, we wanna give ourselves a head start. So you're going to turn your ankle or your leg enough so then the foot is pointing to your, slightly to the side. Shift the weight to the back leg. Pour the weight into the left leg so then your right leg is empty. Now take it out slightly to the outside. Heel down, toes up, and then we're gonna glide through a little bit of a horse stance. We talked about that before too. So a little bit of horse riding stance, and then now you're facing completely 180 degrees to the right side. So it's really that turn in the back ball of your foot, the back heel, that will help you to facilitate, right? This is the second side. You wanted to make sure let's go from here one more time. So we turn, this is the first side. We're gonna go to the second side, bow stance. Pivot, right ball of the foot. Now this side, knee and the toes are pointing to the correct direction, aligned. Lift, pivot, pivot, pivot more, okay? Until it's pointing out to this side. Pour the weight back. Right foot comes back. Your body, your torso is turning to the right side. You want to make sure you land the foot slightly to the right side, okay? Gliding through, pivot on the left ball of your foot. Right now, right, the front foot, knee, they're aligned to the correct direction. Tailbone heavy, back straight, and then your knee is right above your ankle, so you're not pushing it through, you're not straining, right? So the alignment is important, and you're reducing the strain, Okay, so let's take a breath, coming back. So for tip number 4, I'm going to use mirror image just to show you the front a little bit easier. Okay, so let's say we are in Wuji stance, and you can let your hands be wherever that makes you feel comfortable and stable. So from here, feel free to utilize the second tip we learned. So we're going to soften the knees. So instead of pouring into your right knee, your right leg, you're going to sink your weight into the left leg. So then we can pivot on your right ball of your foot. Now we give ourselves enough head start. From here, draw your left foot in, step your left foot slightly to the outside, and then we're going to go into our bow stance right here. So knee and the second toes, they're correctly aligned, and then your back foot pivoted, okay? So from here, we're gonna gently turn. So it's the turning that sometimes it's sticking. So you wanna make sure you're pivoting on the back ball of your foot. We already know that. Until you turned, so then your back foot is kind of facing forward. And from here, we're going to turn. This is the third tip we learned. You want to make sure you're pivoting the back heel until you pass this point a little bit. And then from here, you pour the weight into your left leg. Draw your right foot in, and then take your right foot slightly outside. And from here, this is where sometimes knee pain can happen. So from here, make sure your knee is not collapsing as you press. You're pivoting. You want to make sure you are actually gliding through with your pelvis kind of open, almost gliding through a nice horse riding stance. Okay, so we shifted our weight, and then we're gonna glide and then pivot on the back ball of the foot. Okay, so we'll do it again this direction, then I'm gonna turn. Okay, from here, pivot, keeping your pelvis fairly open. Even though now I am pigeon-toed a little bit, as I pour my weight, this knee is still correctly protected. Then I'm gonna draw this leg back, and then taking the foot slightly to the outside. And this is still like an open, right? So we're open, then as I turn, I can face this side. I'm getting really close to my screen, so I'm gonna turn around, okay? So showing you the back view. Okay, from here, let's do it one more time, getting all of the tips back together, infuse into this last run right here. Okay, soften your stance. You can slowly pour the weight into the left side, so we can almost do this one inconspicuously. The little gentle turn on the right ball of the foot. Give us a head start so that we can take the left heel down slightly to the outside, gliding through that little bit of a horse riding stance. Okay, pivot on the back ball of the foot, left heel pass, right, in a little bit. Pour the weight back into the left leg, right foot in. Step your right heel out slightly. So make sure you adjust your stance to be higher if that works better for your knee. Okay, from here, we're gonna glide through a little bit of a horse riding stance. And then without collapsing that back knee, we pivot that back ball of the foot. Your torso, pelvis, knee, front foot, toes, all pointing to the correct direction. So we had successfully turned 180 degrees. All right, and let's close right here. Here are some bonus tips to help you reduce knee pain when you're practicing Tai Chi. So knee pain can happen because the muscle groups around the knee joint is not strong enough. So your thighs and your calves, make those strong. I'll make sure to link videos in the description below to help you warm up your body before you start your Tai Chi practice. And then the other thing is the adjacent joints, your hip joint and your ankle joints, maybe they're not flexible enough or mobile enough to facilitate the turn, proper turn, to make sure your knees are protected, because the knee is just a hinge joint. It's not meant to do any of the lateral movement. So If your foot is glued on the ground because you did not turn your hip joint enough, or you did not turn your ankle joint enough, you didn't pivot enough, that maybe when the foot is still facing incorrectly, but I know my torso needs to point this way, I might just try to force myself, right? If I'm not being mindful. So if I'm being mindful, I know, I need to turn a little bit more, or pivot on the ball of the foot, or when I walked my foot out, I can go a little bit more to open that foot and glide myself through to make sure I'm in the correct posture with the correct alignment for the knees and for the torso. So again, check the description. I'm going to make sure I link another video to help your ankle to get strong too, so then you can feel more balanced and stable. Incorporate these knee-friendly turning tips into your Tai Chi practice and click or tap the screen for more Tai Chi tutorial videos. If you enjoy learning like this step by step, share this with a friend who can also benefit, and let me know in the comment below what other questions you might have with your practice. I'll see you soon.